The call for help. The U.S. Horizon, humanity's flagship battleship, was a behemoth that roamed the stars with an unmatched combination of elegance and power. Its sleek frame shimmered in the vastness of space, bristling with advanced weaponry and cutting-edge technology, a symbol of humanity's resilience and ambition. The ship carried not just warriors but scientists, engineers, and diplomats, a microcosm of Earth's finest minds. Humanity had come far since its first ventures beyond its solar system, now standing shoulder to shoulder with other galactic powers in uneasy alliances and fragile truces. Captain Marcus Kane, a seasoned commander with a reputation for making bold decisions, stood tall on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the holographic star map. His salt and pepper hair, sharp jawline, and piercing gray eyes reflected years of experience in navigating not just the dangers of deep space, but also the political intricacies of interstellar relations. The bridge buzzed with activity as officers monitored systems, plotted courses, and maintained communications with the fleet. "Status report," Kane commanded, his voice firm but calm. "All systems nominal, Captain," replied Lieutenant Sarah Harlow, the ship's operations officer. Her hands moved deftly over the console, her blue eyes scanning data streams. Suddenly, a sharp beep broke through the ambient hum of the ship. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," announced Lieutenant Ethan Grant, the communications officer. His voice carried a hint of urgency. Kane turned toward him. "Source." Grant's fingers danced over his console. "It's faint, sir. Originating from the Dalthan expanse. The signal is heavily distorted. But it's not human." The mention of the Dalthan expanse sent a ripple of unease through the bridge. The region was notorious for pirate activity and uncharted anomalies. "Put it on screen," Kane ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing a garbled message accompanied by alien symbols. The ship's AI, Athena, worked quickly to translate the distress call. Message decoded. Athena's smooth, artificial voice announced. Translation: under attack. Request immediate assistance. Coordinates attached. Kane's brows furrowed. "Who sent this?" Athena replied. "The signal matches the linguistic patterns of the Zerithians, Captain." The revelation was met with a collective intake of breath. The Zerithians were an enigmatic and highly advanced alien race known for their isolationism. Rarely did they venture beyond their home systems, and even more rarely did they ask for help. "Zerithians," Kane muttered, rubbing his chin. "For them to send a distress signal, something serious must be happening." Lieutenant Harlow interjected. "Captain, this could be a trap. The expanse is a perfect place for an ambush. Or it could be an opportunity to show humanity's strength and goodwill," Kane countered. His voice carried the weight of responsibility. "Set a course for the coordinates. Lieutenant Grant, alert the fleet and keep communications open. Lieutenant Harlow, prepare the ship for potential combat." "Aye, Captain," the crew responded in unison. As the horizon altered its trajectory and accelerated toward the source of the distress signal, the tension on the bridge grew palpable. Every officer knew the risks of answering a distress call in hostile territory. The damaged vessel. After hours of travel, the source of the distress signal came into view. On the main display, a massive Zerithian vessel floated in the void, its elegant organic design now marred by heavy damage. Fires raged across its hull, and debris drifted aimlessly around it. The sight was both awe-inspiring and heartbreaking. "Scan the area," Kane ordered. "Multiple life signs detected aboard the Zerithian ship," reported Lieutenant Harlow. "But there are also unidentified hostiles. The readings are erratic." "Sir," Kane's jaw tightened. "Hostiles? Are we looking at pirates?" "Possibly," Harlow replied. "But there's something strange about the energy signatures. They don't match any known pirate factions." Kane's gut told him this was more than a simple pirate raid. "Prepare a boarding team. Lieutenant Commander Adrian Hayes will lead the operation." Hayes, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a no-nonsense demeanor, stepped forward. His dark eyes were sharp with determination. "Understood, Captain. We'll bring them back." Boarding the unknown. The boarding shuttle detached from the horizon and approached the Zerethian vessel. Inside, Hayes briefed his team, each member clad in advanced combat armor and armed with plasma rifles. "Listen up," Hayes began. "We're going into uncharted territory. Our primary objective is to locate survivors and extract them. Hostiles are confirmed on board, so stay sharp. We don't know what we're dealing with." The team nodded, their expressions a mix of focus and apprehension. The shuttle docked with the Zerethian ship, and the airlock hissed as it pressurized. As the doors slid open, the team was met with a scene of devastation. The once pristine interior of the ship was now a battlefield, with scorch marks on the walls, overturned equipment, and flickering lights. "Stay close," Hayes instructed, leading the team into the ship's corridors. The air was thick with tension as they advanced. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the halls, a low guttural growl that sent a shiver down their spines. "What was that?" whispered Corporal Elena Vargas, her grip tightening on her rifle. Before anyone could respond, a shadow moved in the corner of Hayes' vision. "Contact," he shouted. From the darkness, a hulking creature lunged at them. It was unlike anything they had seen before, its form a grotesque blend of organic and mechanical parts, its glowing red eyes filled with malice. "Open fire," Hayes commanded. The corridor erupted in a cacophony of plasma bolts as the team fought off the creature. Despite its size, it moved with alarming speed and agility, forcing the team to adapt quickly. After a fierce battle, the creature finally collapsed, its mechanical components sparking as it twitched one last time. "What the hell was that?" Vargas asked, her voice shaky. "No idea," Hayes replied, examining the remains. "But it's not alone. Stay alert." The team pressed on, navigating the labyrinthine corridors. They encountered more of the creatures, each encounter more intense than the last. Yet they pushed forward, driven by their mission, a desperate discovery. Finally, they reached a large chamber that appeared to be the ship's command center. Inside, they found a group of Zerethian survivors, their regal, shimmering forms battered and weary. Among them was a figure that stood out, a young Zerethian woman whose presence radiated authority and grace, despite her disheveled state. "Humans," she said, her voice tinged with both relief and disbelief. "We're here to help," Hayes assured her. "Can you move?" She nodded, though her expression remained wary. "We must leave quickly. The attackers, they are relentless." As the team began to escort the survivors back to the shuttle, Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The creatures they had fought were unlike anything he had encountered before, and the Zerethians' fear suggested an even greater threat. "Captain Kane," Hayes radioed back to the horizon. "We've secured the survivors, but we got a situation here. Request immediate extraction." "Understood," Kane's voice crackled through the comms. "Bring them home." As the shuttle departed, Hayes glanced back at the Zerethian ship, now a silent, burning relic in the void. Whatever had attacked them was still out there, and Hayes knew humanity's role in this story was far from over. Shadows of the enemy. The U.S. horizon loomed in the distance as the boarding shuttle approached, its massive structure a symbol of hope and safety against the darkness of space. Inside the shuttle, the tension was palpable. The Zerethian survivors sat huddled together, their shimmering silver skin marred with burns and lacerations. Their large, reflective eyes darted around, silently assessing their human rescuers. Lieutenant Commander Adrian Hayes, seated at the front of the shuttle, kept a watchful eye on them. The Zerethians were known for their intellectual superiority and their reluctance to engage with other species. For them to appear this vulnerable and accept help from humans was unprecedented. One of the survivors, the young Zerethian woman with an air of authority, finally broke the silence. Her voice was calm, yet beneath it lay an edge of desperation. "You shouldn't have come." Hayes turned to her, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" We received your distress signal. She looked directly at him, her luminous eyes filled with an emotion Hayes couldn't quite place. Guilt? Fear? This fight, it is not yours. You've brought your kind into a storm that will destroy you. Before Hayes could respond, the comms crackled to life. Shuttle Alpha 1, you're clear to dock. Welcome back, came Lieutenant Harlow's voice from the horizon. As the shuttle docked, the Zerethians exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, an older male who appeared to be a scholar or scientist, leaned toward the woman and whispered something in their native tongue. She nodded solemnly, but remained silent as the humans guided them aboard. The horizon's unanswered questions. Captain Marcus Kane stood in the observation bay, watching as the boarding shuttle was pulled into the ship's hangar. His arms were crossed, his face a mask of calm determination, but his mind raced with questions. The Zerethians' distress signal was only part of the puzzle. The creatures described by Hayes and his team didn't match any known species or technology. As Hayes disembarked with the Zerethian survivors, Kane stepped forward to greet them. I'm Captain Marcus Kane of the U.S. Horizon. Welcome aboard. The young Zerethian woman inclined her head slightly. I am Lyra Varan, a researcher from the Zerethian Assembly. This is Dr. Karaz. She gestured to the older male. And the rest of my team. We are in your debt. Kane studied her, noting the way she carried herself despite the visible exhaustion. Your distress signal said you were under attack. We've already encountered some of your attackers. I need to know what we're dealing with. Lyra hesitated, glancing at Dr. Karas. The older Zerethian nodded, and she turned back to Kane. We were pursued by entities we call the viral. They are, she paused, searching for the right words. They are not of this galaxy. They are remnants of a force that existed before any of our civilizations were born. They consume and assimilate everything in their path. The revelation sent a chill through the room. Kane's expression hardened. Why were they attacking you specifically? Is this an isolated incident? No, Lyra said quietly. We made a mistake. We tried to study them, contain them, but they are far beyond our understanding. When we realized the danger, it was too late. They are coming for us all now. The enemy unveiled. On the bridge of the horizon, the atmosphere was tense. The Zerethians were given temporary quarters while Kane and his officers analyzed the data from the boarding team's encounter with the creatures. Captain, Athena's voice cut through the room. I've finished analyzing the remains of the entity recovered from the Zerethian vessel. The results are concerning. Show me, Kane said. The holographic display lit up, revealing a detailed scan of the creature Hayes' team had killed. Its organic components were grotesque, but what stood out was the intricate network of nanotechnology integrated into its body. This is no ordinary species, Athena explained. The viral operate as a collective intelligence, combining organic life forms with advanced nanotech. They can adapt rapidly to threats, which makes them incredibly dangerous in combat. Lieutenant Harlow frowned. They're like a virus, then. One that spreads and upgrades itself. Exactly, Athena confirmed. What's more troubling is that their nanotech appears to be self-replicating. If even a fragment of their technology escapes containment, it could potentially infect other systems or life forms. Kane's mind raced. The implications were staggering. A single encounter with the viral could lead to widespread devastation. Do we know how many of them are out there? He asked. Athena hesitated. The Zerethian records suggest their fleet is vast, Captain, and growing. Desperate measures. In the Zerethians' temporary quarters, Lyra sat cross-legged on the floor, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Dr. Karaz stood nearby, pacing. This was a mistake, Karaz said in their native tongue. We should have accepted our fate. Bringing the humans into this will only spread the infection. Lyra looked up at him, her expression weary but resolute. And leave our people to die alone. No, the humans may be untested, but they are strong. They have a will to survive that even we cannot match. You're gambling with their lives, Lyra, Karaz snapped. I'm gambling with all our lives, she shot back. Do you think I don't understand the stakes? The viral are relentless, yes, but they are not invincible. If anyone has the ingenuity to fight them, it is the humans. Karaz fell silent, his face etched with doubt. Before either could say more, the door slid open, and Hayes entered. Captain Kane wants to speak with you both, he said. The first strike. As Kane, Lyra, and Karaz convened in the strategy room, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Captain, we've got incoming. Lieutenant Harlow's voice rang out over the comms. Kane and the others rushed to the bridge, where the main display showed a fleet of unidentified ships dropping out of hyperspace. Their jagged, almost organic designs mirrored the creatures the boarding team had encountered. The viral, Lyra whispered, her voice laced with dread. Kane turned to his crew. Battle stations. Shields up. Weapons hot. The horizon trembled as the first wave of viral ships opened fire. The bridge was a flurry of activity as officers coordinated defenses and returned fire. They're targeting our engines, Harlow reported. Divert power to rear shields, Kane ordered, and get me firing solutions on their lead ships. As the battle raged, it became clear that the viral were unlike any enemy humanity had faced. Their ships moved with an eerie coordination, adapting to the horizon's tactics in real time. They're learning from us, Harlow warned. Kane clenched his fists. Then we'll give them something they can't predict. Deploy the EMP warheads. A costly victory. The horizon's torpedo bays lit up as EMP warheads streaked toward the viral fleet. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted the viral ship's systems, causing several of them to drift aimlessly before being destroyed by the horizon's guns. But the victory came at a price. The horizon's shields were nearly depleted, and the ship had sustained significant damage. As the remaining viral ships retreated into hyperspace, the bridge erupted in a mix of relief and exhaustion. This was only the beginning, Lyra said, her voice cutting through the room. The viral now know what you're capable of. They'll return stronger. You must be ready. Kane nodded grimly. We'll be ready. But deep down, he knew the fight against the viral would test humanity in ways it had never been tested before. Whispers of war. The aftermath of the battle was a chaotic symphony of repairs, casualties, and uneasy silence. The U.S. horizon, once a proud fortress of exploration, now bore the scars of its first encounter with the viral. Its hull was charred and pockmarked, and entire sections had gone dark, running on emergency power. In the infirmary, the wounded were tended to by overworked medics. Lieutenant Commander Adrian Hayes leaned heavily against the wall, a bloody bandage wrapped around his shoulder. His mind replayed the battle over and over, the precision of the viral's attacks, their relentless adaptability. For the first time in years, Hayes felt something foreign grip him. Fear. Across the ship, in the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Maravos barked orders as her team scrambled to repair the horizon's critical systems. Sparks flew as plasma torches cut through damaged panels, and the air was thick with the smell of burned circuitry. Captain, we're holding her together with duct tape and prayers, Mara said through the comms. If we get hit like that again, there won't be much of a ship left to save. Captain Kane stood on the bridge, his jaw set in a grim line. Do what you can, Mara. We need to be operational as soon as possible. He turned to Athena, the ship's AI, who hovered as a holographic projection beside him. Athena, what's our status? Athena's usually calm demeanor seemed almost troubled, her digital eyes flickering. Shields are at 23%. Weapon systems are operational, but our ammunition reserves are critically low. Engine output has been reduced to 58% efficiency. She paused. Captain, I must advise that we retreat to a safer location for full repairs. Engaging the viral in our current state would be catastrophic. Kane nodded slowly. Noted, but I have a feeling the viral won't give us that luxury. The Zerithian truth. Meanwhile, in the Zerithian quarters, Tensions were rising. Lyra Varen and Dr. Kiraz sat across from each other, their conversation laced with urgency and quiet desperation. "They'll come for us again," Kiraz said, his voice heavy. "And the humans won't survive another attack. You know this." Lyra's hands tightened into fists. "And what do you suggest, Kiraz?" "That we abandon them. They saved us. They didn't have to, but they did. They saved us because they don't understand the stakes." Kiraz shot back. "The viral are not an enemy you fight. They're an enemy you flee from. They are endless. Lyra, endless." Lyra stood abruptly, pacing the room. "I refuse to believe that. There has to be a way. The humans have faced impossible odds before and survived. They innovate. They adapt. If anyone can stand against the viral, it's them." Kiraz sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're placing blind faith in a species that doesn't even comprehend the threat they're facing." At that moment, the door slid open, and Lieutenant Commander Hayes entered, his injured arm now in a sling. "Am I interrupting?" Lyra turned to him, her expression softening. "No, please, come in." Hayes stepped forward, his gaze shifting between the two Zerithians. "I need answers. The captain needs answers. If we're going to stand a chance against these things, we need to know everything you know about them." Lyra hesitated, glancing at Kiraz. The older Zerithian gave her a resigned nod. She took a deep breath. "The viral are not just a species. They're a force of nature. We believe they originate from beyond the known universe, perhaps even beyond this dimension. Their technology is not merely advanced, it's alive. Every ship, every soldier, every piece of their machinery is interconnected, part of a single vast consciousness." Hayes frowned. "A hive mind?" "Worse," Lyra said. "A singularity. The viral don't just destroy, they assimilate. They absorb the technology and biological matter of their enemies, growing stronger with every encounter. That's why they came for us. We tried to contain a fragment of their consciousness for study. We thought we could understand them, maybe even find a way to stop them. But all we did was give them a foothold." Hayes processed this in silence, the weight of her words sinking in. "So what you're saying is, every time we fight them, we make them stronger." Lyra nodded grimly. The captain's dilemma. In the strategy room, Kane, Hayes, Lyra, and Kiraz gathered around a holographic projection of the viral fleet. Athena provided real-time updates, her voice measured but urgent. "The viral fleet that attacked us was only a reconnaissance force," Athena explained. "Based on Zerithian records and our own analysis, their main fleet is significantly larger and far more dangerous." "How long do we have before they return?" Kane asked. "Unclear," Athena replied. "But if their behavior patterns hold true, they will return as soon as they've adapted to the countermeasures we used in the last battle." Kane leaned over the table, his mind racing. Retreat wasn't an option, not with the Zerithians on board, and the knowledge that the viral wouldn't stop with them. But staying and fighting in their current state felt like suicide. "What about the Zerithian technology?" Hayes asked. "You said you tried to study the viral. Do you have anything we can use against them?" Lyra hesitated. "We developed a weapon, a failsafe. It's experimental and untested, but it's designed to disrupt their hive mind, severing their connection to the collective." Kiraz stiffened. "Lyra, no. That weapon is unstable. If it fails, it could destroy us all." Kane's eyes narrowed. "What kind of weapon are we talking about?" Lyra met his gaze. "It's a quantum destabilizer. It emits a pulse that fractures the quantum entanglement linking the viral's consciousness. In theory, it would render them vulnerable. But, Kane pressed. "But the destabilizer is incredibly volatile," Lyra admitted. "If it's not calibrated perfectly, it could cause a chain reaction that—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. "Take out the viral and us with it," Hayes concluded. Kane straightened, his decision made. "We don't have a choice. If the viral reach human space, they'll consume everything in their path. We'll take the risk. Lyra, you and your team will work with Athena and Mara to get that weapon operational. Kara stood abruptly. Captain, you're playing with forces you don't understand. This isn't bravery. It's madness. Kane turned to him, his expression hard. Maybe it is, but I'll take madness over surrender. A fractured alliance. As the Zerithians and humans worked together in the Horizons labs, tensions continued to simmer. Kiraz remained openly hostile, refusing to assist in activating the quantum destabilizer. You're all fools, he muttered as Lyra and Mara calibrated the device. This weapon will destroy us long before it destroys the viral. Lyra ignored him, her focus unwavering. If you're not going to help, then stay out of the way. Meanwhile, Hayes and Kane prepared the crew for what was shaping up to be a last stand. The Horizons weapons were rearmed, its shields reinforced as much as possible. Every crew member knew the stakes, but no one wavered. In the quiet moments before the battle, Hayes found himself standing in the observation bay, staring out at the void. Lyra approached him, her expression unreadable. "You're not like I expected," she said softly. Hayes raised an eyebrow. "What were you expecting?" "Humans to be selfish, short-sighted, but you fight for each other, even when the odds are against you." Hayes chuckled bitterly. "We don't always get it right, but when it comes down to it, we don't give up. That's one thing you can count on." Lyra nodded, a flicker of hope lighting her eyes. "Then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance." The storm approaches. The U.S. horizon drifted through the void like a wounded predator, scared but not broken. The crew worked tirelessly to prepare for what they all knew was inevitable. The viral would return. Captain Kane stood in the strategy room, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. The holographic display showed a three-dimensional map of the sector. Athena's voice filled the room, calm and precise as always. "Captain, I detected a faint energy signature approximately 4.3 light-years from our current location. It matches the profile of a viral scout vessel." Kane's jaw tightened. "They're already tracking us." Athena nodded, her holographic form flickering slightly. "It's highly likely they're preparing to send reinforcements. The scout is relaying our position back to their fleet." "Can we intercept it?" Lieutenant Commander Hayes asked, standing nearby with his arm still in a sling. Kane shook his head. "Not in our current state. If we break formation to pursue it, we'll leave the ship vulnerable to an ambush." He turned to Lyra Varen, who stood quietly near the edge of the room, her expression pensive. "How close are you to getting the destabilizer operational?" Lyra hesitated before answering. "We've made progress, but there's still a risk of instability. If the device misfires, we won't have a second chance," Kane finished for her. The room fell into a tense silence. The stakes were growing clearer with each passing moment, and every decision felt like walking a razor's edge. The ticking clock. In the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Maravos worked alongside Lyra and a team of human and Zerithian engineers. The air was thick with tension as they calibrated the quantum destabilizer, a device unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Its core pulsed with an eerie blue light, a testament to its volatile power. Mara wiped sweat from her brow, her voice sharp as she addressed the team. "I don't care if it's alien tech or magic. This thing needs to work, and it needs to work now." Lyra glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "You remind me of someone I knew back on Zerith. She had the same fire, the same determination." "Let's hope that fire doesn't burn us all to ash," Mara muttered, her hands deftly connecting power conduits. At the edge of the room, Kiraz watched in silence, his arms crossed. His disapproval was palpable, but he said nothing. Finally, he spoke, his voice low but firm. "You're playing with forces you don't understand. This destabilizer, if it fails, it won't just destroy the viral. It could tear a hole in space itself." Lyra didn't look up from her work. "And if we do nothing, The viral will consume everything. I'd rather take a chance than sit back and watch the universe burn. Keras shook his head. You're blinded by desperation. Mara stepped forward, glaring at him. Desperation is what got us this far. If you're not here to help, then get out of the way. Keras's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing more, retreating to the shadows of the room. The calm before the storm. As preparations continued, the crew of the Horizon stole moments of rest where they could. In the observation bay, Lieutenant Commander Hayes found himself staring out at the stars once again. This time, he wasn't alone. Lyra stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. It's strange, she said quietly. On Zareth, we always thought of the stars as symbols of hope. Now, they just feel empty. Hayes glanced at her. Hope's a funny thing. Sometimes it's all you've got, even when everything else is telling you to give up. Lyra turned to him, her eyes searching his face. Do you really believe we can win this? He paused, considering his answer. I don't know, but I do know one thing. If we don't try, we've already lost. Lyra nodded, a small flicker of determination returning to her eyes. Then let's make sure we don't lose. The viral return. The warning klaxons blared throughout the ship, sending a jolt of adrenaline through every crew member. On the bridge, Captain Kane barked orders as the Horizon's sensors lit up with activity. Athena, report. Captain, multiple viral vessels inbound. They'd dropped out of FTL and are closing fast. A holographic display filled with red markers, each one representing a viral ship. There were dozens, far more than the Horizon could handle in its current state. Kane's voice was steady, but there was an edge of urgency. All hands to battle stations. This is it, people. The ship shuddered as the first wave of viral attacks struck its weakened shields. On the bridge, sparks flew from an overloaded console, and the air was filled with the hum of energy weapons charging. In the engineering bay, Mara and Lyra worked frantically to bring the destabilizer online. The device pulsed with increasing intensity, its core emitting a low, ominous hum. Power levels are spiking, Mara shouted. If this thing goes critical. It won't, Lyra said firmly, her hands moving with practiced precision. We're almost there. The last stand. The Horizon's weapons blazed to life, returning fire against the advancing viral fleet. Despite the ship's damage, the crew fought with everything they had. Lieutenant Commander Hayes led a team of Marines in repelling a viral boarding party, the corridors of the ship echoing with the sounds of gunfire, and shouted orders. Hold the line. Hayes yelled, his pulse rifle firing in controlled bursts. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Kane remained calm, directing the battle with a steady hand. Focus all fire on the lead cruiser. We need to buy time for the destabilizer. On the bridge, Athena's voice cut through the din. Captain, we've sustained critical damage to the aft sections. Hull breaches reported on decks 5 and 6. Kane didn't flinch. Seal those sections and keep firing. We're not done yet. The weapon unleashed. In the engineering bay, the quantum destabilizer reached its final stage. The room was bathed in a blinding blue light as the device hummed with barely contained energy. It's ready, Lyra shouted over the noise. Mara nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. Charging the emitter. Now. The destabilizer began to pulse, each wave of energy growing stronger. But as the power level spiked, alarms blared throughout the bay. Something's wrong, Mara exclaimed. The containment field is destabilizing. Keras stepped forward, his expression grim. You need to increase the harmonic frequency. Otherwise, the core will collapse. Lyra hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Do it. Keras moved to the console, his hands working with practiced ease. The destabilizer's hum began to stabilize, and the alarms faded. Emitter charge, Mara reported. We're ready to fire. On the bridge, Kane's voice came through the comms. Do it now. Lyra activated the weapon, and the horizon shuddered as the destabilizer unleashed a massive wave of energy. The pulse spread out in all directions, enveloping the viral fleet. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, one by one, the viral ships began to falter. Their movements grew erratic, and their energy signatures flickered like dying flames. On the bridge, Athena's voice broke the silence. The destabilizer has disrupted their hive mind. The viral fleet is in disarray. Cheers erupted throughout the ship, but Kane's expression remained cautious. Don't celebrate yet. We're not out of this. A Pyrrhic victory. As the viral fleet retreated, the horizon limped away from the battlefield, its systems barely holding together. In the aftermath, the crew gathered in the observation bay, staring out at the stars. "We did it," Lyra said quietly, her voice filled with both relief and exhaustion. Hayes nodded, his gaze fixed on the void. "Yeah, but at what cost?" The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The viral had been dealt a blow, but their true strength remained a looming threat. For now, humanity had bought itself a fragile reprieve, a chance to prepare for the storm that was surely still to come. The horizon had survived, but the scars it bore would serve as a reminder of the battle and the sacrifices that lay behind them. A fragile reprieve. The U.S. horizon floated like a ghost through the vastness of space, its once pristine hull now scorched and battered. Though victorious, the battle had left the crew drained, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Repairs were underway, but the scars from the conflict ran deeper than the ship's torn metal. Captain Kane stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the star-streaked expanse before them. The crew moved quietly around him, each step measured, each word spoken in hushed tones. The celebration of their survival had been brief. The weight of what lay ahead bore heavily on all of them. Athena's hologram flickered to life beside him. "Captain, long-range scans show no signs of immediate viral activity. It seems the destabilizer's pulse has left their hive network fractured. Their fleet is in disarray. For now." "For now," Kane echoed, his voice grim. "We bought ourselves time, Athena. But I doubt the viral will stay broken for long. They'll adapt. They always do." Athena's expression softened slightly, an uncanny simulation of empathy. "You've given humanity something it didn't have before. Hope. That's not insignificant." Kane's gaze didn't waver. "Hope is only as good as the strength to back it up. And right now, we're running on fumes." A call for help. Deep in the engineering bay, Lyra Varen and Mara Voss surveyed the aftermath of the destabilizer's activation. The alien device, now inert, sat at the center of the room like a dormant beast. Its once brilliant core was dark, its energy spent. "We pushed it to its limit," Mara said, her tone tinged with regret. "It's fried. I don't think we can use it again, not without a complete overhaul." Lyra nodded, running her hand along the smooth alien metal. "It did its job. But the viral will learn from this. They'll come back stronger, and we might not have the firepower to stop them next time." Mara leaned against the console, exhaustion etched into her face. "So what's the plan? We can't keep running forever." Before Lyra could answer, the intercom crackled to life. "Commander Varen, report to the bridge," Athena's voice announced. Lyra and Mara exchanged a glance before heading to the lift. The walk to the bridge was silent, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on them. When they arrived, the tension in the air was palpable. "What's going on?" Lyra asked, stepping up beside Captain Kane. Kane gestured to the main display. "We picked up a distress signal. It's faint, but it's coming from a nearby system, an uninhabited sector." Lyra frowned. "A trap." "Maybe," Kane admitted. "But if it's not, we could be leaving someone to die out there." Athena chimed in. "The signal is consistent with human frequencies, but it's heavily degraded. Whoever sent it might not have much time." Kane looked around the bridge, meeting the eyes of his senior officers. "We're barely holding together, and we're low on supplies." But if there's a chance we can save lives, we have to take it. That's who we are. There was no argument. The decision was made. The ghost signal. The horizon dropped out of FTL, near the source of the signal, entering a desolate region of space littered with the remnants of ancient battles. Wreckage drifted aimlessly, a silent testament to conflicts long forgotten. Athena's voice broke the eerie silence. Signal strength increasing. It's coming from a derelict station ahead. The station loomed in the distance, a jagged silhouette against the backdrop of distant stars. It was massive, its design unfamiliar, clearly alien in origin. "Scan it," Kane ordered. Athena's hologram flickered as she processed the data. The station is heavily damaged, but there are faint life signs aboard. Human. And something else. Something else, Hayes said, stepping closer to the display. "Care to elaborate?" Athena hesitated. "A rare occurrence. The signatures don't match any known species in the database. It's possible we're dealing with an entirely new form of life." Kane's jaw tightened. "Prepare a boarding team. Hayes, Lyra, you're with me." Inside the station, the boarding party consisted of Kane, Lyra, Hayes, and a small team of Marines. Armed and on edge, they entered the station through a breached airlock. The interior was a labyrinth of twisted metal and flickering lights, the air heavy with the scent of decay. "This place gives me the creeps," Hayes muttered, his pulse rifle at the ready. Lyra studied the walls, which were covered in strange, glyph-like markings. "Zerethian," she murmured, "but different, older." They moved cautiously through the corridors, following the faint signal. The deeper they went, the stronger the sense of unease became. Shadows seemed to shift in the corners of their vision, and the sound of distant whispers echoed faintly. Finally, they'd reached a large chamber. At its center was a glowing console, surrounded by what appeared to be stasis pods. Some were shattered, their contents long gone, but others remained intact. Hayes stepped closer to one of the pods, his flashlight illuminating the face of the being inside. It was humanoid but unmistakably alien, its skin a deep iridescent blue, and its eyes closed in a peaceful slumber. "What the hell is this?" Hayes asked. Lyra's expression was unreadable. "It's not viral. But it's not Zerethian either. This is something else entirely." Before anyone could respond, the console flickered to life. A distorted voice filled the chamber, speaking in a language none of them understood. Athena's voice came through their comms. Translating, the message appears to be a warning. It says, "Do not wake them." The team exchanged uneasy glances. The decision. As they debated their next move, the station shuddered violently. Kane's communicator crackled with Mara's voice. "Captain, we've got incoming. A viral patrol just dropped out of FTL. They must have tracked us here." "Damn it," Kane muttered. "We don't have time for this." Lyra stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the console. "Captain, we need to wake one of them. If they built this station, they might know how to defend it, or how to stop the viral." "That's a hell of a gamble," Hayes said, his tone skeptical. "We don't have a choice," Lyra shot back. "The viral are here. If we don't do something, we're dead anyway." Kane hesitated, his mind racing through the possibilities. Finally, he nodded. "Do it." Lyra moved to the console, her hands flying over the alien controls. The pod began to hum, and the figure inside stirred. Slowly, its eyes opened, revealing a piercing silver glow. The alien stepped out of the pod, its movements graceful but deliberate. It surveyed the team with an expression that was both curious and wary. Athena's translation came through their comms. It says, "Why have you woken me?" Kane stepped forward, his voice steady. "We need your help. The viral are coming." The alien tilted its head, its silver eyes narrowing. "You have brought death to this place," it said, its voice resonating deeply. "But perhaps it is not too late to undo what has been done." As the station shook under the impact of the viral assault, the alien raised a hand, and the glyphs on the walls began to glow. "Follow me," it said. The reckoning. The station trembled under the relentless assault of the viral fleet. On the U.S. horizon, Maravos barked orders in the engineering bay, struggling to hold the ship together while it absorbed the brunt of the attack. Sparks flew, consoles overloaded, and the ship's structure groaned under the stress. Meanwhile, deep within the alien station, Captain Kane and his team followed the enigmatic alien, their pulse rifles drawn and nerds frayed. The glowing glyphs on the walls pulsed rhythmically, as though responding to the alien's presence. "What is this place?" Kane demanded as they hurried through the labyrinth of corridors. The alien turned briefly, its glowing silver eyes locking with his. "A prison. And now, it is also your battlefield." The revelation. The team entered a vast chamber unlike anything they had seen before. At its center was a massive crystalline structure, pulsating with energy. Strange conduits extended from it, feeding into the walls and ceiling. The glyphs on the walls were brightest here, casting an eerie, otherworldly glow. This station was designed to contain the viral, the alien explained, its voice calm despite the chaos outside. "They are not merely invaders. They are a plague, a corruption that spreads through the stars, consuming all in their path. This device, the heart of the silent, was built to sever their connection to the hive and render them inert." Lyra Varan stepped closer to the crystalline structure, her scientific curiosity overpowering her fear. Why was it abandoned? If this could stop the viral, why not use it? The alien's expression darkened. The price was too great. The heart requires an immense energy source, and its activation sacrifices the life force of its wielder. My people could not agree on who should bear the burden, so they chose to hide the station instead. But now, you have awakened it, and me. Hayes tightened his grip on his rifle. "So what's the plan? You're just going to flip a switch and stop them." The alien gave a faint, bitter smile. "It is not so simple. The heart requires time to charge, and the viral will not wait. You must hold them off until it is ready." Kane stepped forward, his jaw set. "How long are we talking?" 20 minutes, the alien replied. "Perhaps less." Kane turned to his team. "We've faced worse odds. Hayes, Lyra, get back to the horizon and coordinate with Mara. We'll need every weapon we've got. Athena, alert the crew. All hands to battle stations." The battle begins. The viral swarmed the station like locusts, their ships filling the void with deadly precision. The horizon weaved through the chaos, its laser turrets firing in every direction. Inside, the crew fought valiantly to keep the ship operational. Mara's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, we've rerouted power to the shields, but they won't hold for long. If you've got a miracle in your back pocket, now's the time to use it." "I'm working on it," Kane replied, his voice tense. Back on the station, Kane and the alien stood before the heart of the silent. The alien placed its hands on the crystalline structure, and the glyphs around the room flared brightly. Energy began to flow through the conduits, filling the chamber with an intense hum. "They're coming," the alien said, its voice strained. "You must defend this chamber." Kane nodded, gripping his rifle tightly. "I've got your back." The last stand. The first wave of viral drones burst into the chamber, their insectoid bodies moving with terrifying speed. Kane opened fire, his shots precise and unyielding. The Marines at his side formed a defensive line, holding the creatures at bay. "Lyra, we need reinforcements," Kane shouted into his comms. "We're on our way." Lyra's voice crackled back. More viral poured into the chamber, their sheer numbers overwhelming. Kane fought fiercely, but the odds were against them. Just as the line began to falter, the sound of gunfire erupted from the corridor behind them. Lyra and Hayes charged in with a squad of Marines, their weapons blazing. The reinforcements pushed the viral back, buying precious time. How much longer? Kane yelled at the alien. The alien's eyes glowed brighter as it concentrated on the heart. The charge is almost complete. Just a little longer. The sacrifice. As the battle raged on, Kane noticed the alien's movements slowing. Its breathing grew labored, and its luminous eyes dimmed slightly. "You're not going to make it, are you?" Kane asked, his voice low. The alien met his gaze, a faint smile playing on its lips. "This was always my fate. To end the viral, someone must become one with the heart. My people were too afraid to make that choice. But you have reminded me of what courage looks like." Kane's chest tightened. "There has to be another way." "There is not," the alien replied. "But take solace in this. My sacrifice will ensure your survival. The viral will be crippled, and your people will have a chance to rebuild." Kane hesitated, then nodded solemnly. "Thank you." The alien placed its hands firmly on the heart, and its body began to dissolve into pure energy. The glyphs flared one last time, brighter than ever before, as the heart unleashed its full power. The aftermath. The pulse from the heart of the silent radiated outward, washing over the viral fleet. One by one, the alien ships went dark, their systems failing as the hive network was severed. The surviving drones collapsed lifelessly, their connection to the hive irreparably broken. On the U.S. horizon, the crew watched in stunned silence as the viral fleet disintegrated before their eyes. "We did it," Mara whispered, tears streaming down her face. Kane stood on the bridge, his expression somber. "No, they did it, and we'll make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain." A new beginning. The horizon limped away from the station, its crew battered but alive. The alien station, now dormant, remained behind, a silent guardian watching over the stars. In the days that followed, Kane recorded a message to be sent across the galaxy, to the people of the United Federation, and to all sentient life. Today, we survived. But survival is not enough. The viral threat may be diminished, but it is not gone. We must come together, as one, to ensure they never rise again. We owe that much to those who gave their lives for our future. As the message broadcast across the stars, Kane stared out at the vast expanse of space, determination burning in his eyes. "This isn't the end," he said quietly. "It's just the beginning." The end. Would you like me to refine this further or expand on any part?